I have to remember to add that our dog's name is Logan. Well, thank you, Dr. Peterson, and to all of you all. It is such a pleasure to be here. And as I came in today, I was reminded that God does indeed dream dreams bigger for us than we can dream for ourselves. I shared with Dr. Peterson the last time I was here to see President Obama. And lo and behold, I'm here as the 60th mayor. Who could have imagined that? I did my first commencement speech on yesterday in Nashville, Tennessee, and I don't know if it will go down as the best commencement speech ever, but I do think it will go down as one as the most appreciated because it was 6 minutes and 18 seconds long. So I understand that there's a little wager going on as to how long graduation will last. I want to make sure I get a portion of that when I'm done with this speech. But I've always had a very personal fascination with Georgia Tech, and it goes back to 1980-something. It was probably before most of you all were born, and also when Georgia Tech had a really, really good basketball team. And I would watch basketball all day long. My mom owned a hair salon. If I didn't get up on Saturday mornings early enough to go to the shop with her, then I was stuck at home, and on TV all day was basketball. So I was completely obsessed with Georgia Tech basketball, and one player in particular. I'm not going to call his name today. But I had a high school basketball coach who would indulge me and listen to me talk about all of the fascinating things that I knew about Georgia Tech basketball. And I talked about Georgia Tech basketball so much that one day he said to me, if I could get this particular player to come up to Frederick Douglass High School, my C would magically become an A. And I'm sure the statute of limitations has now run, so I can share that with you. So every day after school, I came to the Georgia Tech campus, and I searched for this basketball player. Some might say I was a stalker. I would like to say that I was focused. And every day, I would ask if anyone had seen him. And I met him one day, and he told me no, he would not come to my school. But I saw another player on the team, and he said, sure, I'll come. And so I brought him to Frederick Douglass High School. Everyone was stunned, including my teacher, and I got an A in the class. So I share this story with you to just share a few lessons that I learned in my pursuit of what I wanted most at 16. And that was to have a Georgia Tech basketball player come to my school. First lesson I learned can be summed up by a quote from Nelson Mandela: it always seems impossible until it's done. I know that many of you all are experiencing that feeling today. It probably seemed impossible when you got to the campus of Georgia Tech, but here you are today. So congratulations to you. The other lesson I learned was one that my father taught me. What's the worst that can happen? Someone can tell you no, and then what have you lost? Well, that basketball player told me no, but his teammate told me yes, so I gained an A. But I also realized that we are all human. And that was no more evident to me when I looked at the really cool guys in my classroom that day who completely lost it when that basketball player walked into the room. It was my reminder that sometimes it's the simple things that we do that make a difference. Because going to Frederick Douglass High School on the west side of Atlanta, for me anyway, Georgia Tech seemed like a place far, far, far away. A very magical place. But what it showed me is sometimes it's the simple acts of kindness, simply coming into our classroom, making Georgia Tech real to children on the west side of Atlanta that made a difference. And I'm still talking about it 30-something years later. Also, a lesson that I learned reminds me of a quote of Albert Einstein: "Imagination is more important than knowledge." Sometimes you just have to dream bigger than your circumstances. Whether or not it's dreaming that you will one day graduate from Georgia Tech or dreaming that you will one day change the world, sometimes it's just important to dream. And as the mayor of this city, I'm so very grateful that you all, in a very real way, give our children in the Atlanta Public Schools something to dream about, something to reach for, because what I now know as the mayor of this city, that the real MVPs in our community are the ones who go into our classrooms, as they do at Hollis Innovation Academy, and they let them know that a degree from Georgia Tech is a possibility, that it's possible that you can become an engineer, that you can live on the west side of Atlanta, and that you can be more than your circumstances. And then lastly, the lesson that I learned reminds me of a quote from Audre Lorde: "When I do vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." At 16, I didn't have sense enough to be afraid. I didn't have sense enough to be afraid to come up to the campus of Georgia Tech and look for a basketball player. Hold on to that part of your youth that makes you unafraid. I remember that when I ran for mayor of Atlanta, and I asked myself, what would I do if I weren't afraid to fail? For me, it was thinking outside of my circumstances and what others thought my path should be. For me, it was to pursue what seemed to be impossible. Well, your journey to the impossible is today. It is tomorrow. It is forever. Thank you for being a part of the Atlanta community. We look forward to all that you have to offer, all that you will bring to our city and to the world. Thank you. Congratulations, class of 2018.
Thank you, Mayor Bottoms. And if you'll tell me who that player was after the ceremony, I'll call him and tell him the 60th mayor of Atlanta would like to meet with him. Right. Congratulations. Thank you.
One final thing, the other lesson: people will remember stupid things that you do. When I see him now, I drop my head in shame.